G'day guys, it is Dan here again. We are here for another episode, or part B of last week. We did cut it in half. If you watched the full one the first time, awesome. If you haven't watched the first part, you can click over here and that will be there. And yeah, we hope you enjoy. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Comment any questions. Yes, Pete would have been here this week, but he's been very busy. So I'm doing a split of last week, and this will be for this week's episode, and then next week we should be back to normal. I guess me and Pete talking about business. I believe we'll be touching on structure for like an online business, so my business, focusing on affiliate marketing, similar to what Pete did 2 weeks ago now. So stay tuned for that. To obviously stay tuned. Make sure you once again like, subscribe, and enjoy the second part of Nate. So other than obviously that big first day stuff up, have you had any other sort of challenges throughout? I guess teachable moments throughout. I guess the first start and the middle, where you are now, that you look back and be like, I learned quite a bit there, and this is like what the issue was, and this is how I dealt with it. Is there anything that sort of stands out that you could possibly share?
So after about 3.5 years, I burnt out, and it was it all came to a point. I was struggling. I was trying to do everything myself. Money was getting incredibly tight with the business, and so much so I had to let my manager go. That was quite an emotional thing to do. And that very night, I tore my Achilles, and then it just seemed to be falling in on myself.
Yeah.
And that came from looking back, was learning to delegate better, and learning to when you're trying to teach people how to do a skill in life, there has to be a point where you let them go and allow them to fail and learn from themselves. And I think I struggle a bit with that, because at the end of the day, every cent that we lost, I wasn't taking a wage. After 3 years, I still wasn't taking a wage, and it was putting pressure on the family. And I think it made it worse, because then the more pressure I was on, the more I wanted to control everything and try to do it myself. So it meant that I was trying to do the paperwork all myself, and I was trying to do the cleaning myself. So looking back, that was a tough lesson to learn.
How have you overcome that specific thing? I'm really interested in the mental health side of that. Like, how did you overcome that burnout? Because I know that's quite the journey I've gone through. Burnout, I don't know to the extent of, it might not be to the extent of what you went through, but I've also gone through something similar to that, and I'm really interested in people's stories on how they were able to navigate healing, navigate the healing process of a burnout, because it's not something that just gets fixed.
No, and specifically when you're so involved in it, and that was the thing, I couldn't detach myself from the business. I had a stubbornness that I had to keep going. We couldn't just sell. We couldn't just walk away. It would have been devastating for us as a family. I was very blessed to have parents-in-law that were in a position that they could help, and particularly my mother-in-law started to come in and work alongside me, and then to the point where she came on full-time, and eventually are our business partners. And she had the experience in the business management that I didn't. So she understood the numbers. and she understood how to grow the business. She understood how to break our business down and go, these are our weaknesses, these are our strengths, and we over time had to learn to work together, and we learnt what my strengths were and what her strengths were, and not only that, but looking at weaknesses, and that took me time, and I would go through a period where over time I felt like I could relinquish responsibility, and I had to learn to trust her.
Yep.
I had to actually just give over clean responsibility to staff and go, and for me it ended up being almost switching off. I had to switch off because I couldn't be in that halfway zone where I still was looking over their shoulder, because then I couldn't help myself. I wanted to get in and just go, let me do it. We'll do it right.
That dynamic would have been really hard. I mean, I know when I brought a general manager on board, I had a lot of trouble with the letting go as well, and just trying to fix or work out the dynamic between being a business owner and having, like, because you've now got a business partner involved with your business, right? The dynamic between going, oh, this is what I'm strong at, this is what you're strong at, let's try and work together. That's not something that just comes about very quickly. How did you guys come to that sort of understanding on what the strengths are between both of you? So what your strengths are and what her strengths were, particularly within the business circles? Because usually when you get a general manager, you've got to get someone who's very strong-minded. You actually need somebody who's very strong-willed, who can go, all right, this is what needs to happen, business mindset. Like, it's good to have somebody in that role. For us as a general manager, she's a business partner, but she's also a general manager for your company as well. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So how did you guys come to that sort of conclusion between, this is our strengths, this is my strengths, and this is her strengths?
There was a few very obvious ones, particularly around the books, where I had struggled, and when she came in, she was able to look at the books quite quickly and go and work out what was wrong, and actually start to put the money in the same place. So things like that were very obvious, and then I think over the time it actually came about me. For me, it was actually a big part was trying to heal, and so I was trying to still be in the business, but trying to heal at the same time. And so we would have a conversation, and we would sort of set ourselves some job parameters, and then we'd go away and we'd try and work at it. And I found over time that I was struggling. I would find that I'd have a go, but then there were just some things I was like completely started to switch off from. I couldn't, we learned what some of my triggers were, and that what would really deflate me or stop me from, I suppose, being able to be productive. And I had to try and be as open and honest with her as I could, because it was kind of a new thing for me with the business. I hadn't, I suppose, had anyone to share it with for the most part, on the day-to-day. I could go home and talk to my wife about things, but it was later on where once Justine and even Dusty started to understand some of the things that had been going on in the business, and we got a better picture, and we're able to delegate that even better. So it's got to the point now where I don't do a lot. I suppose I consult a little bit, from my experience.
You do a bit of quoting here and there.
And I do a little bit of quoting and a little bit of admin, but I have for the most part stepped very well back, and both my parents-in-law have got it to a place where we are now very, very healthy as a business. We're profitable. We have good clientele, regular clientele. We've cultivated those relationships, and it's so going from the day I bought the business to now has been a journey of, I suppose, the word is a trial of survival, and it's come through to allowing, like there was a growth period and learning to let go in certain areas for myself, but then having people with the right strengths. I've learned now that sort of management is actually not me, and that's okay. It's not that I don't have to be that person. My mother-in-law is very good at that, and my father-in-law is very good at operations and talking with people. And then I have that experience with the cleaning. So we now work very well as a trifecta, and I have currently I'm working in a different industry which I'm falling in love with, and however the process for me and in being able to sit back has allowed me to heal. Like I'm in a state now that I never thought I'd get back to. And I've had to remove myself somewhat to be able to learn how to heal. I see a counsellor every 2 weeks, and I have been fairly regularly for a couple of years. I am medicated, and it's something that I'm not planning on giving up.
Can I ask what were some of the symptoms for you personally with burnout? Because I know burnout looks differently for a lot of people. The scary thing I think about burnout is, just from my experience, is that it feels like it comes on really quickly, but then when you reflect, there was actually signs of it coming. So what was your experiences, particularly with the business burnout, with having to do everything with? Hang on, I've got something like stuck in my throat. Every episode, I either cough or I'm like, I need to get a drink. So what was
so disappointed, Peter?
I'm just right. I'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll fight you then.
Oh. So,
jeez, all right.
No, okay.
That escalated quickly.
Anyway,
for me, fatigue, massive one was fatigue. The probably one of the best ways I could describe it is a cloud in my mind. I remember a day where I was the only one in the office and I had a lot to do. And I was aware of some of these symptoms, and so I had started taking notes in a certain way to try and help me remember to do things, because I was starting to forget. I just forget to do things, plain and simple. And I would even forget the conversations, like leading up to doing those things. So, and I sat down this day, and the next thing I knew, it was like 5 o'clock. And I had literally sat my entire day. I'd sat at a computer and I hadn't done a thing. And it was incredibly distressing. I didn't know. It was just this cloud in front of my mind, and I couldn't break through. I couldn't even remember to open my notepad that was literally sitting next to my computer, which had all my notes in it that would have allowed... I wrote them in a way that would allow me to systematically work through a day. And I'd never opened it that entire day. And that cloud stuck around for a long time. It affected my ability to talk. I couldn't formulate full sentences without forgetting words. And just general, like from there, anxiety, depression, that kind of followed with it, which I had previously suffered from, so that wasn't helpful. Struggle sleeping, many nights not sleeping. You pacing the house. It affected my relationship with my kids and my wife, and impatience.
When you were not sleeping and you were like pacing, like, was it because you were thinking about stuff, or was it because you weren't thinking about stuff, or is there?
Yeah, inability to switch off.
Yeah.
Just couldn't. Your mind wouldn't stop racing, and even you go on holidays. You'd take 10 days holidays, and you'd switch off on the 8th day.
Yeah.
So you'd effectively had 2 days holiday because you just couldn't switch off.
Yeah.
And it was a skill I had to learn to be able to switch off quicker. And it's for someone who cares about things and what they do. I had the best way I could do to switch off was actually to stop caring, which because which was very unnatural for me. So
yep. Yeah, it would be. And do you know what, though? Running a business, I mean, I've spoken with a lot of business owners, and there's certain things that you have to just go, do you know what? I care, but you've got a certain situation. You just got to be like, nah, sorry, this is the way that you have to think very. I think that's where a general manager can come into really good play on certain things like that, where they're able to just go cut through everything and just go, nah, this is what's best for the business. Like, not getting emotion involved, not getting, and that's a lot of experience wise.
Yeah, you do have to be a bit more black and white.
It's a bit hard. I have trouble with black and white.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, yeah.
It's just the way it is.
So, you go on, Dan.
Dan, it's your turn.
I'm going to jump in here. Yeah, I'm going to jump in here.
I just have so many questions. Even though Nathan and I talk all the time,
that's fine.
I still learn so much off him.
The audience doesn't know. No, so you mentioned just previously, like just before that, you now looking into like a different sort of field or sector. Do you want to go into that a bit, like sort of what you're now working on? Because it sounds like you've stepped away, like a big step away from the cleaning business. Is your new area related to cleaning, or is it completely different? And do you want to sort of talk about that?
It's very different. I'm now working in the disability sector. So I'm a senior support worker of a SIL. And
a SIL is a support independent living house, guys, if you don't know.
We've talked about them
if
before.
We have new viewers and stuff, we might just have to re-clarify it. Have captions on the bottom for.
Yeah. Caring for people has just always been what I've enjoyed doing in life, and I think I started to learn more about who I was through the whole journey. My brother is in the industry, and listening to him talk, I suppose I found it inspiring and loved to hear some of his stories about his work and what he was doing. And I very much I had been looking into it, but when I actually started to work, it was not intentional at the time. I was actually helping someone out, and then it turned into a job, and haven't looked back. And it's allowed me to do both. I've still got a pinky in the business, but I really enjoy the industry. I have met some amazing people, and Peter.
You jerk. That was good. That's a good dig. That was a good dig.
But the young bloke I work with is an incredible young man, and to be a part of his growth as a human is pretty special. And so I feel like when I go to work now, I get something out of it every day. I have purpose that makes me feel like I'm giving something back in life. Money's never driven me, which is one of the reasons why looking after the money in business never worked for me, because I suppose put people and the emotion first, and that's I didn't look at it as the black and white and the business side. I couldn't. It just wasn't me to be able to view it that way. I don't have to think about that now, and I love it. I love that I can go and I spend time with a person, a human, and it's it suits me. It suits who I am, and it's allowing me to learn who I am as a person as well. I feel like I have a lot more identity now. So
we should get your participant on the podcast one day.
Nice.
He's got a little business that you help him run. So
I was just going to say, I'm like, have you got anything on the horizon, like business-wise, or you like don't want to touch it?
Yeah,
Seems like
probably shouldn't say much. My boss might get me in trouble. I'm sure he would actually love to come on and share himself. That would be amazing. So
no, perfect.
Yeah. You'd probably have to come on with him though as well,
helping
because you're a pretty key part in his business as well. So I
can't completely get away from business. So.
Yeah, I was going to say what I think is really cool though. I think it's really cool that Nathan, even though he's a bit like, I don't know if I want to do business anymore myself in the future, he's still now helping someone with a disability in the next generation come through to, like, because the person that he works with, obviously being in a supported independent living house requires a lot of help, but helping somebody become independent within business that way and start to understand key concepts and things like that has taken a long time. But I think it's incredible that you can now use that life experience that you've got from running a business to now be able to assist other people in that sort of thing as well, even though it's not something you may want to do yourself, but you've got more experience there, which is
I mean I enjoy seeing him learn and flourish. Like maybe it just means that I'm a bit more complicated, but I found it very hard to get that personal satisfaction out of business, but seeing him learn and grow, gets me excited, and helps me get up in the morning. So call me weird, call me whatever, but it's just who I am.
And here's the thing, like, you still have, like you said, a pinky in your other business, right? So you're still involved with your other business, but this is an example of, even if you do run a business, you can set it up so that a lot of other people are doing the majority of the work, and you're still, like Nathan's doing, you've got a pinky in the business, and then you can go and do more of a passion as well. So Nathan's got into the disability sector because he's passionate about people now. So there's always that option to still have a business and still do other things as well. Like, business doesn't always have to be 100% of your life.
No, I mean it's important to earn money. We need money to live. It's not something that gets me up in the morning. And my dad was a pastor, and when I say pastor, that was his skill set, was pastoring people. His ability to love people, I don't think I've maybe ever seen before. He and that was what he was just blessed with, and I certainly feel like he passed it on to my brother and I. It just comes natural. Going through burnout, I can tell you what, there was plenty of times I didn't want to see people, but that was different.
Understandable.
And it freaks me out sometimes how similar your and my story is. Every time I chat with you, I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. I forgot that my dad was a pastor as well. So it's like,
you shave your head and you look better too.
Do you know my issue is I don't grow up here, so I have trouble with my.
Borrow some from Dan.
You just can't quite.
He's got plenty to shave.
Yeah, or you. You've got pretty good coverage. It's not often that I'm in a conversation with people and I have the worst beard out of 3 people, so this is kind of depressing for me.
Do you want to talk about it?
All right.
Yeah, I need help. Can we have a coffee tomorrow morning, Nathan?
All right. Twist my arm.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Now we have cracked over the hour mark. Me and Pete were talking probably for like 9 minutes. So, Pete, was there anything else you wanted to, like, we're probably...
Yeah, I'd love to have you back on just to talk about just strategies that you've used and things like that in the future and things like that to get through business and through like the struggle of mental block and mental health and things like that with business itself, and just have more just be yarn. I think there's a lot. Is there anything that you want to say? Like, say, if you could give any advice to anybody who wants to start a bit, maybe a similar personality to you, right? Has that people first personality. Is there any sort of advice that you would want to give to anybody that wants to get started into business but does care a lot about the people, and it has a very similar mindset to you, where you're people first driven? Is there any advice that you'd give to them?
Oh, that's a good question.
We should have pretty
well, I mean, I can reflecting back, I wish I'd often thought about going to TAFE and like just doing like a little business degree or something, and just to give me some sort of taste of how a day-to-day business works. I literally knew nothing going in, and so that wasn't ideal. The other thing is that I was far too trusting, which doesn't come natural to me. I actually like trusting people, but I had to actually learn to be cautious, and I ended up creating a rule for myself where, if someone was trying to sell me something or I had to make a big decision, I never made an answer on the spot. I always went home and tried to think about it, or talk with my wife, or talk to someone that I trusted. And that came late on and after many, many mistakes. I would say to someone like myself is do more research before you buy. Make sure that you're like, when you're going through the business and you're checking, like, get it checked multiple times. And make sure that you going in without experience wasn't necessarily a wise thing to do. And it was just it is what it is. Like,
but yeah, so it's been good having you on, Nathan. We are going to wrap it there. It has been over an hour long, which is a little bit longer than normal.
Thank you for having me.
We'll also post pledge cleanings link as well. So we'll have that.
Send me a text with all of the links / things you want me to put in the description.
Facebook,
I'll check
stuff
it out.
like that.
All that.
Not that we get a ton of views right now because it's still a very new podcast.
Yeah,
when we do,
though,
you guys might be a bit overwhelmed.
Thank you guys for having me.
Not a bad problem to have.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, all right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one, guys. Like and subscribe.
Oh yeah, make sure you hit the likes button, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I'll do this again at the start, but I'll do that later. Anyways, have a great day, have a great week,
Bye.
and
See you,
we will
Nathan.
talk to you soon.